to Ujima Wednesday, September 7th. Today is co-direct. I'm Nia, and I will be presenting along with Simone. So first up, we just want to give a preview of our September workshops. This month is Taxes and Race Month. So we're actually really excited. We have a really good lineup for you next Wednesday for If You Know, You Know. We will be joined by Aravind Badupalli from Urban Institute, as well as Stephen Dean of Brooklyn Law School. Just really quick information about Aravind. Aravind is a research associate in the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center, where he contributes to projects on federal, state, and local tax and budget issues. His research interests are centered on public finance policies to reduce and eliminate racial income and wealth disparities in the United States. He also serves on the Fines, Fees, and Restitution Work Group of Baltimore City's Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight of what he'll be covering. He'll also be joined by Stephen Dean, who's a professor of law at Brooklyn Law School. His work focuses on the causes and consequences of inequality, both domestically and globally, with a particular focus on tax policy and an emphasis on anti-Black racism. In addition to law review articles and essays in journals, such as the NYU Law Review and the Emory Law Journal, Dean has written for a range of publications, including The Nation. In his forthcoming book, Global Jim Crow, Taxation and Racial Capitalism, which is coming from Oxford University Press in 2023, Dean explains how racial bias helps create and continues to sustain a global tax system that favors wealthy states. He has co-authored 3 books with other Brooklyn law professors: For-Profit Philanthropy, also forthcoming from Oxford University Press, and Social Enterprise Law, Trust, Public Benefit, and Capital Markets with Dana Brackman-Reiser, and Federal Taxation of Corporations and Corporate Transactions with Brad Borden. He hosted the podcast, The Tax Maven, and he has testified before the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee and been a consultant to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. So we're excited to hear from him. He's going to come and represent a field called critical tax theory. So really looking forward to that conversation. That's next Wednesday, and that's part of our If You Know, You Know meetings, which are our BIPOC only meetings. So that does mean, unfortunately, it won't be recorded, but we will have a reflection from that meeting. Then that's September 14th, that's next Wednesday. The following Wednesday, September 21st, we will hear from Marie Frances Rivera, who is the Executive Director at Massachusetts Budget and Policy Center. Marie Frances is leading Mass Budget at a time when the people of Massachusetts are reimagining ways to achieve a truly equitable and inclusive economy and society. Her experience guiding powerful multidisciplinary teams around a collective vision and action is transforming the organization and policy discussions in Massachusetts. Under her leadership, the organization continues to build bridges and partnerships with community leaders, elected officials, labor and business leaders to ensure state policy helps achieve equitable outcomes for all. So she will join us to talk about our state's tax system, which I believe is regressive. Steve is nodding. Okay, yep. So she'll talk about what that means, that we have a regressive tax system. She'll also talk about the fair share, and let me make sure I'm getting this right. Is it called the Fair Share Amendment? The millionaires tax is what it's otherwise being called. So she'll also be here to talk about that. I believe that's going to be in our ballot in November. So she'll be here to provide, I think, some really interesting state context to follow up from the conversation we'll get from Stephen and Aravind Wednesday. And then we'll wrap up the month with Vanessa Williamson of Brookings Institute. So she's a senior fellow in governance studies at Brookings and a senior fellow at the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center. She studies taxation, redistribution, and political participation. She is the author of Read My Lips: Why Americans Are Proud to Pay Taxes, which brings together national survey data with in-depth interviews to explore why Americans view taxpaying as a civic responsibility and moral obligation. She is also the author, with Harvard professor Theda Skocpol, who's local, of The Tea Party and the Remaking of Republican Conservatism, which examines how the Tea Party pushed the Republican Party farther to the right. The book was named one of the 10 best political books of the year in the New Yorker. Her current book project, Taxation for Representation, traces the role of tax policy in the advances and reversals of American democracy. She has written on school segregation, tax opinion, and tax politics in the Washington Post, about the Tea Party, anti-union legislation and voter registration at income tax filing in the New York Times, about taxpayer citizenship in the Atlantic, about philanthropy and austerity and white supremacy and dissent, and about democracy and organizing for Teen Vogue. And so as kind of gleaned from her bio, she'll be talking about our opinions on taxes and how that intersects with race. So it's kind of like our check-in question a little bit in terms of our emotions about taxes and how that intersects with race. So very exciting. And again, that'll be September 28th. And that's our lineup for September for Taxes and Race Month. So I'll just pause for any questions and reflections before I move on. All right, excellent. This is great because I definitely, as usual, I took way too long in my intro before this, so we were already at workshop starting time by the time we got to the check-in question. So we'll keep it moving. Next up, just want to preview our October assembly. So we told you all a while ago, I believe at the beginning of this year, working to standardize our assembly practices, get us on a regular schedule so that everyone knows what to expect when, and that hopefully makes our voting, for example, easier when voting comes around. So our 2 assembly months are April and October every year. And so we're coming up on October as our next assembly month. The theme is participatory governance. So there are a lot of things happening that month. We are starting our co-direct, and James, you arrived just in time because I'm talking about the October assembly. So our first co-direct in October 5th, is where we are going to kick off our board vote. And James, do you mind just really quickly giving us a preview of the board vote that'll be happening in October? Are you ready for that?
Sure. So hi everyone. My name is James Ramboy. I'm the chief of staff of community and culture with Boston Ujima Project, and yeah. So with our assembly coming, we are going to be presenting to our voting body a proposal for a board structure that we could potentially consider that members can vote for. Ratify this coming month in October. We've been working on this specific proposal for over a year, and so we're looking forward to sharing with you all, give you all a sense of how we see the board for Ujima once we become an independent entity. So super exciting. Yeah. Is there anything else I should add, Nia?
No, that's perfect, James. And I just want to underscore, so this is a vote that will be happening. So we'll be looking to provide the presentation or the proposal October 5th at our co-direct, and that will formally open up the vote. And by now, y'all are familiar with how we do it. We need 50% plus 1 for quorum. So we pull out all the stops. We do the phone banking. We ask our solidarity members to help with phone banking. We send out the text, we send the emails. So just we want to make sure we do our part to prep you to get you excited to vote and a weigh in right away. So definitely really important for us to have a successful vote, get the input from you on our proposed board when we do become an independent entity. And so, yeah, just again, hopefully everyone's storing up some excitement for that. We may have a couple of investment votes that month. So also just want to prepare you for that, which is why, again, it's really important that you kind of get prepared and get yourself in voting mode. So getting yourself in information receiving mode, information assessing mode. And I say may because with the investment votes, it really depends on our conversations with the businesses and the information that we're able to get. And it depends on how responsive they are and how timely they are and how timely we are. So it's hard for us to kind of peg a neat kind of deadline. Different things happen. So one reason there may be one week where a business can be particularly responsive and another week that they can't. But what I will say is there is a business that we are actively looking at for investment. We're conducting due diligence on them right now. And if they are ready for us to make that presentation by October, we can expect an investment vote for that business. And there is another business that is in the pipeline that has said that they are seeking investment from us. We have not yet started due diligence on them, but again, as I said, these things are neat. They could move pretty quickly once we do start. We just need to kind of get the original financials from them to start the process. And again, that business may be ready by the time we get to October to present something. So I also just want to prime you that we may have 1 or 2 investment votes also happening in September. We're also going to have a Black Trust. So we're really excited about that. I think the date for Black Trust, do you remember what the date for Black Trust is,
Yeah,
James?
it's October 20th.
October 20th. Our speaker will be Sherry Davis, who's the Executive Director of Participatory Budgeting Project in Oakland. Sherry may be familiar to a lot of people here locally. Sherry was running the Youth Participatory Budgeting Initiative in Boston before going to Oakland, doing a lot of really great work there. So Sherry's going to join us to talk about participatory governance. Sherry has a great, their name is Sherry Davis, just dropping their name in the chat. If you, I think, Google Sherry Davis participatory governance TED Talk, you will find a great TED Talk that Sherry gave, and it'll give you a sense of what we're in store for in October. So we're really excited. Sherry will be joined by one of our Ashe Ashe artists, Marlon Forrester, who will be doing the art presentation that night. And the location will be at the Roxbury Library, right, James?
Yep.
All right, so it'll be at the library. So we're excited about that. Newly renovated and open Roxbury Library in Nubian Square. So that's October 20th, and that's part of our October Assembly Month. October 11th, UGMA will be hosting its first quarterly office hours. And this is really exciting. This is something that we conceived to deal with all of the inquiries that we get from many communities in different places. For a while, we tried to kind of respond to what we could via email, tried to do the Zoom calls and the phone conversations we could, but we couldn't do them all. And so we came up with a couple of things. So one, we came up with our translocal membership, and this was to be in close relationship with communities who reached out to us, who seemed who seemed to essentially be on the path to actually creating something where they are. So moving beyond kind of curiosity or just starting to formulate an idea, but really really kind of deep in implementation. And we felt like we could have a role in essentially kind of getting them over the finish line in terms of getting an economic democracy ecosystem up where they are. So we created our translocal membership program. The first member of that program was Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative in the Bronx, New York. And the second is Kensington Corridor Trust in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So as part of that translocal membership program, the orgs agree to do quarterly office hours with UGMA, which is a public open conversation where people have an opportunity to come and ask us questions that, again, the questions that we kind of usually get with the emails, we're using the quarterly office hours to answer them at one time and to be able to reach as many people at once with the questions at one time. So we're having our first one October 11th. We're excited. As I said, it's with Kensington Corridor Trust. The first hour will be a conversation between me and Adriana, who's the ED of Kensington Corridor Trust. It'll be moderated by Will Jones, who is a program associate at the Rockefeller Foundation. We're just first is going to be in conversation with each other about our challenges, about some learnings. That'll be the first hour. And then the second hour will be more of a UGMA 101 FAQs. So if you go to our Eventbrite, you'll see that if you sign up for that event, we're asking people what's 1 or 2 questions that you have for us so that we can just start to collect those questions. And again, we can use that as an opportunity to broadcast some of our learnings widely. So that'll be October 11th. So that's also part of the assembly schedule. Our workshop schedule, we have lined up for October 26th, as I said earlier, East Bay Permanent Real Estate Cooperative. October 19th, we're looking to hear from Activist. We're still waiting to confirm that. And then October 12th, I believe, is a scholar named Danielle Brown. So James, I talked about Black Trust, I talked about the board vote, I talked about the quarterly office hours, I talked about the workshop schedule. Is there anything else I should cover in terms of the October assembly?
No, I think that is it.
The only thing worth mentioning is we are putting together a Ujima Good Business Alliance meetup, correct?
Oh
Before
yeah.
the Black Trust. So I don't know if you or Genoa want to talk about that really quickly.
Yeah, I can mention quickly. So, as we mentioned, October 20th, we're having our Black Trust, as you know, our Black Lecture and Art Series. Um, in sort of right before that, we're hoping to have a business meetup. And so I know Genoa and team are still sort of ironing out the logistics, but our hope is to invite businesses we love, businesses in our network, to just be in community with us for an hour, just getting to know more about the Lions, get to know about opportunities and resources that are available within our ecosystem. There hasn't been a lot of opportunities for us to be in person, obviously with the pandemic. So this is a really great opportunity for us to really connect with businesses one on one. And so it's going to be the business meetup is going to be from 6:30 to 7:30, and then from 7:30 to 9 will be Black Trust.
Excellent. Thank you so much, James. So great September workshop, jam-packed workshop schedule, jam-packed October assembly schedule. We're in, what we call democracy season now. So we're excited. And that's not to mention all of the democratic ventures, for lack of a better word, that occur outside of Ujima. We just finished our primaries yesterday, and in November we'll be having the general elections. Yeah, and James has put in the chat democracy autumn. I'll pause here for any questions or feedback on the October assembly. All right, and our last topic for tonight, we're actually not over by that much. I'll kick it to you, Simone, to talk about Black portals.
All right, for those of you on the call, this will be a little bit of a repeat, but it bears repeating. So Black Portals is coming up on September 24th, and it is a launch party for United Black Economies. United Black Economies is a partnership between the Boston Ujima Project, the Black Farmer Fund, and the Bronx Cooperative Development Initiative. This collective fundraising effort aims to demonstrate that Black people have all the assets and power we need to fund, cultivate, and create the economic systems needed to fund our Black communities. The hope here, at least in this call, is to extend the call out to our networks for volunteers. So the event definitely needs volunteers on that night of September 24th. If folks are interested in volunteering, they can contact James or Paige at Ujima. So it's james@ujimaboston.com or paige@ujimaboston.com. For those of us on the call, I'll drop that in the chat. Volunteers for Black Portals will receive free entry to the event, and we'll just have help with some tasks that particular night. Those tasks include helping attendees check in, managing the sale of swag, and just generally helping things run smoothly the night of the event. So if folks can volunteer, that'd be great. Please let your networks know that volunteers are needed.
Thank you so much, Simone. And this will be our final pause for questions or feedback on what you've just heard. And James just put in the chat, hit me up with any questions.
I'll just can I make a quick sort of announcement, kind of, not really announcement, but it's
Yeah, absolutely.
just alerting. So we are in the process of organizing, probably in we being the pilot action group, in the process of organizing sort of a public event. We're trying to figure out location and time and stuff, but I would imagine early October, but we want to rebuild public pressure around pilot. Pilot means payment in lieu of taxes. According to a 2010 agreement, universities and hospitals and other nonprofit institutions with over 15 million in assets are supposed to be paying 1/8 of property of what they would pay as a commercial institutions in property taxes to the city. They're also supposed to be providing community benefits of a like amount. They're not really doing that. So this is all around that. And there's a broader strategy that's sort of in development, but there were a lot of distractions because I don't know if you recognize this, but in 2021 we had 3 mayors. It's been kind of complicated, but things are starting to pick up again. So that I won't give like a full report when I have actual dates and stuff. Of course, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, actually, and thank you, Steve. I appreciate you mentioning that, because that does remind me of one other thing about the October Assembly. So one thing I'll say is, if the Pilot Action Group is planning an event in October, I would definitely say link with James, because what we can do is add that to the schedule for the October Assembly, which reminds me of the other thing I neglected to mention, which is we really started doing this with the real estate assembly that we had last year, started doing it festival style, where we invited partners to essentially submit events under the banner of the assembly. So we are also going to have some workshops in that vein from CFNE, Cooperative Fund of the Northeast. Right, James? And this is going to be, I think the workshops are going to be kind of co-op 101, open book management. I believe we're expecting Boston Center for Community Ownership to host a workshop as well. So that will go up on the schedule. And so again, Steve, once the Pilot Action Group's event is worked out, we can definitely add that to the schedule and help to drive people there as well.
Yeah, this reminds me, I'll just ask quickly, like I know Ujima is not yet its own nonprofit, but we kind of, we're Pilot Action Group obviously is a coalition, so we don't have any status. So are you guys able to reserve space at like public libraries and things like that?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So if you need help with that, let us know. Yeah.
Okay, are you the right person to contact, or how do I call?
Contact James.
James. Okay, cool.
And if James doesn't want to be contacted, he could just yell out, "Don't contact me." But yeah, he seems to be fine with it. I would say contact James.
Okay.
Okay, he said it's cool. And then last thing is Jazz Urbane, I believe, is planning something as well for October. Excellent. That will wrap us up. So if there are no more questions or reflections, I will say goodbye and we will stop the recording.